No matter what the people say, I can't.
Hi, my name is Janet Harrington, and I am joined by some very distinguished gentlemen today to talk about my new book, which is titled The Uncontrollable Penis. There's been a lot of controversy about the book, which is scheduled to be released in September, and these gentlemen are going to help me to discuss with you about the book and the contents of the book. And some of the gentlemen sitting here seem to feel like that part of a man is controllable. Some feel like it's not controllable. I have an opinion, of course. I believe that anything can be controlled basically if you control your mind and your thoughts. So as we tackle the conversation, about the book, I want to start with, who would like to start with me?
I'm going to start.
Okay.
The penis can be controlled. I'm going to give you a chronological analogy of the head.
Okay.
When a baby is born, normally the head comes out first. And if it doesn't come out first, it's called a breech baby.
Okay.
Once the baby comes out and it starts to crawl, the head leads. And 6, 7 months, whatever, the head gets on top. So it's first out, it leads, and it gets on top. And that's why this head should always be the leader.
Okay.
Always be the leader. So it can be controlled.
Okay. So the only way then, if this is controlling it, it has to be the thought processes. Wouldn't you say that? I mean, the way a man thinks. Because I believe it can be controlled. I don't have one, but
I hope not.
Okay. But I believe it can be controlled. What do you think about it, Butch?
I think that the penis can be controlled. I think it's an individual decision that man will make depending on what basis is driving that man. When one has a purpose and one is driven by something he's trying to obtain, I think that becomes more of a motivating factor than one pursuing just trying to get a penis satisfied. I think that that's just a perceived thought that most women have because of the gulf between man and woman in terms of what the real problem is. So I think women find it easier to just perceive then that a man has a penis that's uncontrollable than decide that there's a unique problem that's in their relationship and the need sometimes is satisfied through one trying to seek outside. But the real original objective so much is not an uncontrollable penis, but the desire to be satisfied as a man and to feel good as a man.
Okay.
And so I think that is the problem.
So for a man to, for his desire to be satisfied, then would you say that one woman could do that? So I mean, and it would not be necessary for him to, have the proclivity to go outside of whether it's a marriage or a committed relationship?
It is possible. It is possible for a woman to do that. But as I said, there are some unique factors that's got to be entered into. In other words, a woman could do that if one has a purpose that's driven, that he's accomplishing, and then she is meeting the requirements and making him feel fulfilled. But the problem is, if it said there's a man that maybe does not have that purpose and he's lost somewhere, and then she maybe is not fulfilling that, and he feels somewhere in help, then he might look outside to do that because that might make him feel better about himself because he's not really obtaining the true purpose for what makes him feel good.
Okay. I want, Lakeith, can you elaborate on what he just said?
One word, he used one word that really hits home with me. I think it's about drives. Drives. What drives us? I think women have drives, and men have drives, I think compulsive behavior can be controlled, you know. A lot of this has to do with society, though, because this is not the society of the 70s and the 80s, you know.
The
It's
free love society?
I remember them days. That's a good point. I like that because at least in the 90s and 2000, 2010 to now, free love turned out to be. First of all, free love ain't free anymore. There are too many clubs, too many businesses established in Atlanta, letting you know that it's not free, but it's available.
Yes.
You know, it's about drives, and I think it's about drives and how do we control our drives. If we control our drives, and I think they can be controlled. Yeah.
Okay.
Now-
Go ahead.
I think it's control. The issue is who controls it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Perfect.
That's the real
Okay.
bottom line is, do you
Okay.
control it up here?
Right.
Or does she control it up here or down here?
Right.
It's gonna be controlled.
Right.
Okay?
Because the subtitle also is an undesignated driver, because with the sex drive, it's who's driving, who's the one, you know, who's manning
Exactly.
the ship, you know, who's the one that's, you know, navigating. And I like something you said too. You mentioned purpose. When a man has a purpose, and that to me is key. When his purpose is to be faithful in, or you know, in a relationship, whether it's a marriage or a committed relationship, then he can see Tracy, he can see Mary, he can see Tanya. He can walk by, you know, he can look at her, admire the, what do you guys call it? The
Physiology of her.
and say, well, she hooked,
Right.
you know, but, you know, it's him not going, you know, making any attempt to try to conquer that which he sees, you know. Because women, we see a man and we admire from afar and say, wow, you know, everything, you know. But we are, you know, not more apt to go after, you know.
I used to
man.
think that. I used to think that.
Well, I'm not saying that we don't
Yeah, there are many
now. Come
women
on
who-
now,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
I'm not saying, but when a woman, I'm thinking when a woman is married and in a committed relationship and her spouse or her partner is committed to her, what in the world why would she need to, or he, you know, need to go outside of all of that?
I used to think that too.
Okay.
And I, honestly, it is all about individual needs. And there are two things to me that keep a relationship committed and faithful.
Okay.
Trust and respect.
Okay.
And that's coming from the man's side and the woman's side.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that the male ego is so fragile. It only takes a little bit of respect from a woman to keep you filled at home. So anything that's happening out there, you're not even worried about.
And disrespect.
And disrespect?
That's right.
By that same little amount,
Right.
will walk you out the door and into somebody else.
Really?
Oh, there's women out there, I guarantee you, they'll
Yeah.
stroke your
Yes.
ego
Yes.
before they stroke your
Yes.
title of your book.
That's right.
Yes.
And that's a good feeling for a man.
Yeah, okay. Lee, what do you say about that?
I'm going to come from a couple of perspectives. You know, it's a lot of times it's where you come from, how you were taught. A man can't know any more than he's been taught, and he can't go any further than he's been led. And a lot of times you can be taught as a youngster from an example of your father or male figures in your life of how to conduct yourself with the woman and how to control yourself. And then sometimes, the way it is nowadays, a lot of our young men don't have a male figure to kind of teach them that. So a lot of times they can be controlled by their penis. And then on the other hand, a person that has a figure in their life to teach them, they can come from more perspective of control. And a lot of times, what it takes in a relationship is the same thing that it took for a woman to get that man. She has to continue to maintain that in order for him to continue to have his focus on her. Whenever that's lost, In other words, she starts to get lackadaisical in her looks, her femininity, her respect, a lot of things. When she starts to lose that, then the attention of the male, it starts to, other people can start to, there's a lot of distractions out. You can go out and see a woman nowadays that's just bam. And first thing you think, you compare your woman to that. And a lot of times the distraction could be where you can be, it's a vulnerable moment. And it takes that how you were raised to be able to make a right decision at that point. Because it's just like you driving down the street and you're looking, it could be a lot of distractions and you can have an accident. But if you're focused on the road, then you're gonna continue right on. So it has a lot to do with the makeup of that gentleman, of how he's been taught and what he knows best. Because I've had friends that just unbridled lust. You just let them loose, and it's just like a dog loose on the game. They just go for it. But some guys, they have control because of the way they've been taught.
Okay.
And that has a lot to do with the uncontrollable penis and the controllable penis. So it's a catch-22 in between. It's just your makeup and your background and your foundation of how you've been taught. That has a lot.
Some women have just been taught better than us. I'm sorry. I hear all that.
You know what's great? It's not necessarily that they've been taught better than us.
Yes, exactly.
At the game, I mean.
Our physiology is different than
Totally
theirs.
different.
Yes.
God gave us a stronger drive than them to make sure that we got together to procreate. And we didn't use that drive properly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't use, I think if you was grounded with a faith from the beginning, you might not do what you do. And sometimes we do what we do no matter whether our woman is giving us 110%. Sometimes it's in us to be unfaithful because of our physiology, our lustful nature. It's like sometimes you want steak and sometimes I want shrimp, even though the steak is good. That's a fallacy in us. And then women say, well, what did I do wrong? Question themselves. It had nothing to do with sometimes with what you did. It's in us to correct. As a comedian said, my woman said, you control by your penis. You know, he said, no, baby, my penis don't control me. You know, I think he said, you follow. He said, no. My penis tell me to do what I do. You know what I'm saying? So I get back to, if you got a foundation, as you said, about your family and your faith, and the consequences of your acts, because we didn't have some most notable individuals, most presidents,
Which head is leading you? This head or the other head?
To the pews.
Right.
So,
what the brother said was, no, my penis do my thinking for me. You know what I'm saying? And when you allow this head to control this head, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, because every man is vulnerable at any given time because we're not perfect.
That's right.
So every man is vulnerable at any given time, but when that vulnerability takes place, he has to go back to his roots and think. It's almost like doing something wrong. You know what wrong is, but yet and still you make a choice and a decision when you're faced with it, either to go with it or not to go with it. And I think it's the same thing with when we encounter, and when you encounter that daily, it's a temptation. It's just like sin.
But isn't that so right now? Everything you see on TV, and I'm saying, I mean, you have filters that you have
everything is sex
to
appeal.
send through. But the stuff you're seeing on your media and every day says it's okay. That's the right thing.
Certainly do.
So when we talk about the grounding, one of the fundamental problems is, where are we getting our information on what's right and what's wrong?
But
It has to come from the home. That's
right.
No, because the home ain't the home is not the answer sometimes. Because what's happening in the home
Nowadays,
is a
but at our age,
symptom of what's happening on the streets and why these guys are doing what they're doing.
But wouldn't you have to say that, going back to like what he said, from the foundation, if you were taught because there's a biblical truth. You know what I'm saying? Where you learn that thou shalt not commit adultery. thou shalt not fornicate. Okay. So if you've been taught that, you know, then that is a foundational standard that you design your life by. So you know when you commit yourself to somebody that this is the thou shalt, I will not do, or I will. And then it comes down again to what you said. It comes down to choices, you know, because it's gonna always be somebody prettier than your wife. It's gonna always be somebody more shapier than your wife, finer than your wife, got it going on better than your counterpart. It's gonna always be younger than your wife.
At least
Because
that's the way it seems.
Yes, I had an interview with a few ladies, and one of the ladies she was sharing with us that she got married when she was 18. Okay, and she and her husband, you know, they were married for 26 years. Now, from 18, 26 years later, you grow. Both of y'all are growing, but now, are y'all growing together? Do y'all grow apart? And if a relationship is not cultivated continuously, based on the foundations of the things you've been taught, you learn, and y'all communication, and again, what you were saying, you know, the same thing it took. I don't know if your text or somebody been you know, and as women, I talk to women all the time, and some women are just not, you know, some of us are not willing to do certain things, you know, after we have gotten, you know, what we wanted, you know, from men, and that's a big mistake. Big mistake.
I'm not sure
know
what
what I'm
that.
saying?
Can you be a little bit? Can you expand on that? No, seriously.
Well, in my opinion, I was talking to some ladies, and I asked them this question. I said, ladies, do you guys think that, you know, men consider themselves to be beasts? You know, they're hunters. And in that regard, I said, so, you know, do you believe that you should read up and learn, I mean, things sexually to please him?
Okay.
To turn him, you know, I mean, new things, you know, expound and explore different avenues, something that he ain't never experienced before, you know, to keep him, man, you know,
Full.
you know, right, well, I don't know what you know, that to me is a way that a wife or a woman can keep her man interested. But now that leads me to this question right here. Is there anything that a woman can do to keep a man from cheating?
No.
Okay.
No. I guess the perspective that I come from is the thought of an uncontrollable penis.
Okay.
That's scary. Brothers don't want to hear about uncontrollable
Come on
penis.
now, talk to
You know,
us.
because brothers is like, listen, my penis and I, we're great friends. And if I'm on roll, I need to have control. So
Yes.
that's not it. It may be an uncontrollable heart, but it's not an uncontrollable penis because I can't do what I do if I don't have control.
Come on now.
So control is very important, but when you begin to ask the question, it comes down to, are you meeting my needs?
Exactly.
You
What
know,
it took to get
Yeah, what you know,
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
the things,
it's the same
one of the
thing.
things I tell people all the time is when you begin to talk about a relationship, one person may want it 3 times a day, every day. Right? When you talk about 1,500 times, 1,500 times a year, right? The other person may want it once a year, only on your birthday. That's the only time you want it. Right? Well, if you at 1,500 and they at 1, we gotta compromise somewhere. That means there's gotta be some give and some take. Somebody's gotta say, okay, I'm gonna take a little less and I'm gonna give a little more. And we've got to find a happy medium. But if we don't find a happy medium through communication, we're never gonna be there. You understand what I'm saying? And then once we agree, and it don't even really have to be audible, but there has to be, okay, listen, baby, you can't get it 3 times a day, every day. That just ain't gonna happen. However, will you settle for this?
Monday, Wednesday,
You understand what I'm
Friday.
saying?
Yes.
And then there's gotta be something within that man, because it's not just a male thing.
No.
I mean, ladies are on the edge of the pendulum now where they're saying, listen, brother,
I know.
can you do what I need you to do? If not, I'm gonna oops up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So it goes
yes.
both ways. But once you're in a relationship and you decide, we're gonna come together and then this is gonna be enough to satisfy each other, we good. You know? But don't, the phrase I use is, don't keep me hungry and don't make me thirsty.
Gotta be full going out.
You understand what I'm saying? Because if I'm thirsty
Wow.
and if I'm hungry,
Wow.
A hungry man eat anything.
Right.
Dick,
Wow.
I should never have to have nocturnal emissions.
There you go. There you
Feel
go.
me?
There you go.
I shouldn't be so full that my cup runneth over.
Yeah.
That in my sleep,
Yeah.
I have a nocturnal emission. And it ain't just the frequency, it's what we do
Yeah.
in our sex.
Yeah.
Whether it's entering
Yeah.
or tasting
Yeah.
or being tasted.
Yeah.
So it's,
Let's keep it real.
it's the frequency and the frequency.
Yeah.
See, that brings up a real good point.
Yes,
That
yes.
brings up a real good point because the ladies are taught nowadays is to use sex as a form of control.
Nowadays.
To the man. Yeah,
Nowadays.
they've been taught that, to use it as a form of control.
Control.
And that's why when you're in a relationship with a woman, or if you just meet her, in her mind, she feels that she has to hold out as long as she can because that's what'll keep you.
That's control.
But a lot of times, I know some of the strongest relationships that I ever had, we got involved with each other within several days after knowing each other, and those were some of the longest relationships I've ever been in. So there's no rule book to say that it has to be this way in order for it to turn out that way.
Right. That's right.
It's how your chemistry and how you mix with that partner, and that's where you make your determination from. You're both adults, so what you do is you decide. There's no shame because you're adults. You're dealing with life. You're being real. Sex is all a part of me respecting you. It's all a part of me loving you. It's all a part of me showing you that you're a woman and I'm a man. It's an intricate part of the relationship. So let's don't put it aside as though let's don't talk about that now. Let's just talk about this. It's a very real part. Let's
The
deal.
problem is we don't talk about it.
Right.
We don't talk
You know
about
what?
those things.
Yeah, and you know what? Even in the question in the interview with the women, I did ask them this. And brothers, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of them admitted that they failed, they dropped the ball. Question is, which is one of the chapters in the book, do men tell you what they want, but are we listening? Because we have a problem, women, a lot of times, we don't listen.
You don't listen.
Men tell you
Don't listen.
exactly what they want, how they want it, how often they want. You don't. I know you guys don't go into, fine print detail, but you'll tell. And one of the ladies she was sharing, she said, her husband, told her he wanted some eggs. I don't want any pepper or any real seasoning. She decided, oh, I'm gonna put this kind of season I put on it. You gonna like it. You trust me, you'll like it. But I don't want any seasoning. He said he didn't want it. So we have the tendency sometimes to not hear. We hear what you're saying, but as far as following through and obey, with that, we fail in that area.
It's more like in a woman's mind, she wants to make you what she wants you to be.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is,
That's
and I'm gonna make
a big
example
deal
of
right
what I'm
there.
saying.
Okay, come on.
Instead of, you have to grow. See, the problem is not, you come from different backgrounds, right? So nobody's gonna be the same, but you can grow. See, I've grown a lot. See, my background was really more gangster life. I thought, really, when I thought of a woman, I really thought, really, I was a man if you had a lot of women. You went through a lot.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to understand that. See, it's about
And see, a
growing.
lot of
And this
men
is what
won't
we're gonna
share
listen.
that. That's what I
No,
want.
but
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what happened to me.
Come on.
Okay, now, so that was my mentality, and basically that's how he's a big man. Oh, he got this, because that's what you worship going. So that's in South Florida where I grew up. Okay, now, tell you when I had this experience that changed me. Well, it started with the Muslim, because we really only had dinner on Sundays one time. So they would feed us. So I started going to the Muslim church, and they would talk on how we thought as men. So, and then I started saying, no, I kind of think like that. That's a little crazy. So what really finalized for me, that kind of helped me change, is that to see that didn't make you have to be bigger than just how many women you have.
Right.
I had a teammate, I played ball, and this guy was the star. He was the star, right? And the guys all have different ones flying in. He never did that. And we were roommates, and so I ran into a couple of girls, beautiful women, always just beautiful. And like he would not be impressed with that. He was not impressed. He said, well, you just met her. I said, yeah. Oh man, why'd you do that? saying to myself, this guy crazy. Because what he's talking to me was not what I was used to.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's not the way I saw a man. But he was showing me this. And so a girl was trying to talk to him. I'm talking about, she was gorgeous. And I talked to him later. I said, well, why would you not talk to her? He said, because she tried to talk to my friend. I said, what does that have to do with it? I'm not because of name because he's star. And everybody know the name. So he said, well, I would not give her the pleasure